My name is Ivan Capifali. I am the Commissioner for the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. You guys know it as BACP. We are your hosts today. Thank you so much for being here with us, spending this amazing Saturday morning with us. It's truly an honor to be here today, surrounded by small business owners, startups, established companies, and business organizations. Each of you playing a vital role in making our city more thriving and an inclusive place to live and work. BACP's core mission is to support businesses and to protect consumers and workers because we believe in making Chicago vibrant and safe for all of us. We're here to support you every step of the way. This expo is meant to provide the resources you need from your business journey, from idea, launch to growth. Before we continue, I need to give a big thank you to our sponsors, CIBC Bank USA, Pursuit Lending, Western Union, and Wintrust Bank. Also, it's important that I recognize other partners like the Chicago Treasurer's Office and city colleges. It is because of their commitment to the small business community that we can bring this amazing event to you for free. Please join me in giving them a round of applause, please. Today, you can, number one, chat with a business licensing consultant. Number two, meet with local neighborhood business development centers. And number three, grow your business knowledge during our workshops. Also, I encourage all of you to take a short survey found on the agenda and on the screen, because we really, really value your feedback. That's how we make this event better and better every year. One thing that I want to be very clear, and we have to give credit where credit is due, is because Brandon Mayor Johnson's administration and his vision for small businesses, that we have been able to make a priority to strengthen the support around our small business community. Our efforts include streamlining the business licensing and permitting process to make it easier to open and operate a business, and helping owners like you see a quicker return on your investment. Expanding the BACP Neighborhood Business Development Center program citywide so that every community has representation and the support they need. But most importantly, we're listening. We're engaging directly with our business community, holding roundtable discussions, educational webinars, expos like this one, to make sure that your voice is heard. We know that when our businesses succeed, our entire city thrives. Let's keep building a city where businesses not only start, but stay, grow, and succeed. With that, I want to transition to our keynote address. Today's Expo keynote speaker truly embodies the entrepreneurial spirit. She's a 3-time founder and food industry expert. Most recently, she was a finalist on the 2024 season of Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars on Hulu and Fox, where she appeared in all the episodes. With us today is Bethe Levin, founder and CEO of Globowl. Please welcome, join me. Erica, good morning. Everybody's here to meet you, to see you.
Nice to see you.
So, before we talk business, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming. My name is Erica Levin, and I am, as you said, a multi-time founder. I am now a mom of 2, so I'm building my first company as a parent right now, which is interesting. But I moved to Chicago for college. I went to Northwestern University, and I never left. Actually, a few of my friends are here today from school, so very supportive. So I wanted to stick around. I had an internship thanks to a wonderful professor, and I headed downtown every single day, even while still in school, and decided this is the city I'm going to build my life in, and here we are.
I can relate to that. I moved to Chicago to go to school. My plan was to stay here for 2 years, and then it's been 30 now. So, Chicago is one of those cities that will take you in, they test you, right? I mean, it's not easy but then she'll welcome you and she'll make something out of you. So
100%.
we have that in common. That's pretty cool. So Globowl is a food company designed for, and as your slogan says, future foodies, meaning babies and toddlers, right?
Yes.
What inspired you to start a food company for babies?
Well, like I said, this is my first company as a mom. So my influences these days are no longer, my first company was dedicated to the women of Chicago who were just kind of exploring and wanting to learn what to do and where to go. And now I'm more inspired by babies these days. So it was during the pandemic and I was feeding my second child solids for the very first time. And I didn't want another picky eater because my first one was horribly picky. And my pediatrician, who's here today, she told us, feed your kid anything. Feed him everything that you're eating. You don't want a picky eater. And I didn't listen. And now Charlie's very picky. So with the baby, I said, I'm not doing that. So we gave her coconut curry. This was during a time when we were in quarantine and couldn't see beyond our four walls. So how do I bring the world to my child or my children? And I realized that the way that we can do that is through the food, that we eat. And cultural food was very important in my family. My mom's Italian, my father's Jewish, and so food is everything. And I thought it was an important way for me to teach my children about the world outside of our walls and other cultures.
So my oldest son, he's an adult now, I struggled when he was a baby. He had all allergies. He couldn't hold any formula down. The only thing that he was able to process was goat milk. So it was very challenging. So I was going to ask the audience, who has struggled with a picky eater here? With a show of hands.
It is a pretty universal problem here.
Wow. Okay. Well, that leads me to our next question. So offering international flavors.
Yes.
To babies and toddlers can be very risky. And I'm guilty of that. I did not introduce. I made my share of mistakes when I was a young parent. So offering international flavors to babies and toddlers can be very risky, with their developing palates and very challenging. What did you learn when you started introducing your own children to bold flavors?
Well, like I said, with the baby, I still call her the baby, and she's 6. But I gave her, like I said, coconut shrimp curry as her very first meal because I said, why should we be dumbing down baby food, right? Babies aren't dumb. And then I started doing all the research and talking to my friend who's our pediatrician and others. And it turns out kids actually have what's called a flavor window. And it's between the ages of 4 and 18 months of age. And it's when we can most easily influence the way a child actually eats forever. Mm-hmm. Their palate starts to adjust to different flavors and they become more accepting of it later on. And then I did, all the research online, and the USDA had actually just come out with their first ever pediatric feeding guidelines. And it said diet diversity is critical and feed allergenic foods early and often. And that's what I was doing. And so I'm like, okay, wow, this is new-ish in the sense that they're now putting out recommendations. And we need to be ahead of this because all the American baby food right now is very sanitized, down to kind of single note purees in plastic pouches. So we wanted to solve that problem, especially now that we're learning more about plastics and all of that as well. I wanted to put out the food that I wanted to give my kids and that my friends wanted to give theirs.
So Erica, walk us through your product development and production process. Where do you source your ingredients? And do you have a focus group with children to taste the products? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Our focus groups are like, they smile or they spit it out. So it's talking a lot to the parents as well. Mm-hmm. So originally we did, and my encouragement to anyone out here is to speak to your potential customers before you start anything, right? Is this something they want? Is this something they need? Is this something that would be easier for them to do themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So I engaged with a lot of moms, hundreds of moms, through surveys, conversations, interviews, and yes, tastings, right, with both the parents and the kids, because we say, if you wouldn't eat something, why would you give it to your baby? So we would actually taste test with adults as well to make sure it tasted good. And yeah, I guess that's how we did it. And when we realized that this was something that parents wanted, we kind of knew that we were onto something, and the kids liked the taste. It wasn't scary. There was nothing offensive about curry or ginger or any of the other things. And then we started moving on the production.
So this is a very unique market, right? I always wonder about how the whole process of making baby food. How does Globowl prepare and compete against other brands?
How we compare, well, one, international flavors, two, the early allergen introduction, three, we are actually a textured food as well. We're kind of like a salsa consistency. So we're teaching kids the importance of learning how to chew instead of drinking their food, out of a pouch. And then again, throwing it back to the glass jars, because Gerber, one of the OGs, right? They were in glass. I don't know why or how or when exactly we made this pivotal change to the plastic pouches, but it's caused a lot of problems. Texture aversion, speech delays. I've talked to dentists that say kids are now having cavities at extremely early ages because the pouch contents kind of sit on their teeth. So that's our differentiator. And then of course, this isn't, we're not messing around. These are babies. So the most important thing in the world to me is the safety, the health, right? The sanitation of the facility, all of that. And it takes a lot of diligence and a lot of QA work, but it's obviously worth it because the ultimate consumer is a child.
Can you show us a little bit of what you have on display over here?
Oh, what I have there?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we have 6 flavors. So we have pad thai for tots, a veggie tikka masala, mini stroni, baby bibimbap, and we have a baby spices bean bowl. And a Yaya's Buddy Bowl. And actually, can I tell a quick story?
Of course.
We were at an event that I hosted at 1871 for quite a few hundred people, I would say. And we had food for everybody. And we actually batch produced our Mediterranean bowl, our Medi Bowl, served it to everybody with pita and veggies. And I got up to give a speech and I said, how was that dip, everybody? Oh, it was amazing. It was so good. I go, you just ate our baby food. So yeah, that was fun. So it actually tastes good. And we started developing it here. My friend who's on our chef advisory board has a restaurant on Clark Street. And we cooked in the kitchen every morning, 5, 6 a.m. And that's where we started producing the food and canning it ourselves and doing that whole experience before we ended up having a manufacturer.
Thank you for that. So let's start getting into more, good questions, right?
Oh, okay.
Things that the audience is going to appreciate. How did you define your target market? And what factors go into your pricing model?
The pricing's interesting, right? Because you have to make money, but you also have to make it affordable. And if you want to raise money and have investors, you have to show substantial margin. So none of this is easy. It's all very complicated. So I when I think back of, how particular companies have launched, I kind of think of the Uber model. And at the very beginning, it was a black car service and it wasn't for everybody. It's expensive and it's not accessible outside of certain cities and all of that. But the reason they did that is because they had to find product market fit. They had to start at a point where they were going to be making money to showcase to investors. And then eventually, they were able to go down market where they were able to have cabs and shared rides and that stuff. So, the goal is always going to be to make sure that this is accessible as possible to everybody, because every child deserves to have food like this. And so we do what we can to make sure that's affordable by we take FSA and HSA payments and things of that nature. And then eventually, we'd like to be getting, and this is actually something for anyone who works in a product business, the more you order, the less expensive the supplies become. So the glass, for instance, we're now working with a glass bottling facility. So they order so much glass every year. We're able to get our costs down just by associating with them. So group buying and group purchasing is a way that we've been able to get some of our costs down. But when it comes to the supply chain, like the food itself, we are very hands-on, right? We know exactly who these suppliers are. They've worked with our manufacturer for decades. They provide us with heavy metal testing results, things that aren't required, but we as a company, require. So it's very important if you're in a business with a supply chain that you know every single step of that.
That's excellent. And so according to your website, Globowl is available online and at select retailers nationwide. That's very impressive. That's you.
That's my poor husband. Oh, that man. He deals with a lot.
Which came first? And how were you able to secure placements in stores?
We talked about this the other day. So it's a bit of a game. I hate to say that, but I had a very successful friend of mine give me some advice at the beginning because I'm a 3-time founder. I didn't really get into that, but I'd never done CPG before, so consumer packaged goods. And I said, how do you get this out there? Like, how do you get on a store shelf? This is so foreign to me. And he said, well, you gotta tell a little bit of a story, right? There's a lot that can be said about the storytelling part, but you can't get a distributor if you don't have retail interest. You can't get retail interest without a distributor. So you sort of have to play the game a little bit. So, you tell the retailer, yeah, I'm very close to signing with this potential distributor. And then you tell the distributor, oh, I've had some nice calls with, such and such. And oh, very interesting, very interesting. And they just kind of piece it together. I know that's not like black and white advice, it's kind of this gray nebulous area, but it does take a little finagling. But I will say though, show demand. That is very important. And we did that by doing a lot of street festivals here in Chicago, focusing on family-friendly street festivals where I knew there would be a lot of children, babies. Interestingly enough, at those festivals, we learned something else too. We learned that grandparents were very interested in this because so many more grandparents these days are helping with raising the children. So, oh, I can't wait to tell my kids. Like they knew something cool that their kids may not have known yet. So, when you get to engage with your consumer and when you spend enough time with them, you start to learn things you didn't even think about, right? So now I'm like, oh, so maybe I should, in addition to having, potential partners on social media, maybe now we launch a Grambassador program, So I think the most important thing is making sure you're talking to the consumer and making sure you're giving them what they want and showing that demand, and in our case, to the retailers.
Thank you. So she was pointing at me when she said grandparent because my son just had his first son, so I'm a grandfather for the first time now.
1 week old.
Still nervous. Anyway.
All this Globowl is going home with you.
So, as with most products, right, packaging needs to stand out from the competition. And that's very important, right? We always talk about packaging, and that's one of the questions that when I interview people on the stage, we always talk about packaging, because I know that it's very important. Your products are very colorful and very exciting, by the way. How did you come up with the branding and the designs?
So one thing I think you also have to know as a founder or a CEO is what you're good at and what you're not. Branding happens to be something I know I'm good at. I like the branding, I like the creativity, I like engaging with the consumer, I like the marketing. I filled the other parts of the business with people that know that stuff better than I, right? So I brought in mentors and advisors that know operations or supply chain or, fractional CFOs. There are people out there that will come in and support you in a fractional way, where they give you, hours a week to support you in the areas where, may not be your strong suits. But with this, I had a very clear vision in mind of what I wanted it to look like. I wanted it to scream international flavors, that this is like a passport in a jar, that we're gonna be educating children about the world through this food. Like all of that was super important. And then I ended up working with a designer who could bring all of that to life. For my first company, I called that designer. And I said, well, I've never done anything without you and I don't really plan on it. Can you take on this project? And she had just taken a full-time job, couldn't really support it, but said, I know someone that does CPG or packaging for retail shelves better than I do. And so that's how that worked. And this girl and I, this woman, we spent so much time together because at the beginning, what's the point of learning your supply chain if you don't even have something to put out there, right? Like it all kind of has to happen. But yeah, she brought this to life. We still talk once a week because we're always putting out, whether it's this or it's an invitation via email, it's a newsletter. Branding consistency is really important. So I'm pretty proud of it. But listen, if the consumers say something should change, you have to listen to them. So I don't care how committed I am to that color blue. If it's not popping off the shelf, I need to remove my, marriage to that idea and give the consumers what they want.
So, as business owners, of course, there's a lot of trial and errors, and there's, it's when you're starting a new business, of course, there will be challenges, and that's why BACP and the City of Chicago, we have events like this to help you minimize some of those errors and some of those mistakes early by just providing you with resources. Can you share a story, right, as a business owner, and knowing that there are trials and errors, and I'm sure you went your fair share of hardship. Can you share a story about a product that wasn't performing well as you expected?
Yes. You've got to have thick skin, right? Some people aren't going to like it. They don't like the design. They don't like the taste, whatever it is. We talked about this story the other day because I think it was a wake-up call to me, but I did a show with Gordon Ramsay and Lisa Vanderpump, and they actually tasted the food. And so I'm shaking literally like a leaf as they go to sit down and try it. And Gordon Ramsay himself says to me, well, this bean bowl, it's a little acidic. Like my eyes just wanted to throw up. It was horrible. And I called, I don't think I said this. I called my chef developer. He's like, what does he know? And I'm like, I don't know, Dan, but sort of a lot. So anyway, the reason it was acidic, so you have to go back, and think, why was it like this in the first place? It's not because, we tasted it and we're like, oh, this is perfection, it deserves a Michelin star. No, it was acidic because we don't use any preservatives. We only use natural acids, lemon, lime, vinegar, whatever. So we realized, okay, if he's saying that this tastes too acidic, then we need to rebalance, the acid that we're using. So I came back, my chef developer, his ego was, a little hurt, but I said, it doesn't matter, we gotta give them what they want. And so we reevaluated, we tested, right? Because you have to go back and do the work. And we were able to actually balance it in a much better way. And quite frankly, it tastes better, so.
This is a very, very good example. I hear stories from business owners all the time, how they tried 15 times. Yeah. And it was that 16th that was the one that actually stuck. So yeah. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the audience too. So let me ask you something first by saying this. So we partner with about 65 neighborhood business development centers. Most of them are chambers of commerce at the community level, right? And business service organizations. There's a few represented here today. Have you worked with any of them? Have you worked with the chamber?
So I've worked with, I haven't worked with chambers of commerce per se, but I have dug in so hard in Chicago to use all the resources that we have here. I was the first female founder in 1871, which was back in 2012. But that center, I met friends there that I've had for a very long time now. That center was all about resources for entrepreneurs. And just because I'm not doing that company anymore doesn't mean that those don't exist, right? So it was leaning into that network of friends, advisors, investors, and mentors. It was companies or nonprofits like Naturally Chicago. It's the Women's Business Development Center. It's World Business Chicago. Wow, guys, that is an amazing organization that has, I give them credit for helping me get this thing off the ground. They would provide me with manufacturing facilities, like lists and lists of them by county, how to get a hold of them. So, I have leaned in very much because there's so many resources here for founders. And I always say this is the epicenter of food innovation, but it's more than just food, but that's important to me.
The power of networking, right?
Yes.
Keeping, and I remember during our rehearsal, you mentioned that you also became part of a social media group for moms.
Yeah, I mean, we're here in this this large, diverse, beautiful city with all of these neighborhoods. And these neighborhoods also have collections of parents, that join particular Facebook groups or groups online. And, talking to them and sharing with them. I mean, you don't always have to be selling your business, but when you're engaging with your community and you're talking to your neighbors and just sharing advice or, asking for support as well, that's certainly part of it. It helps spread the word, and there's nothing like word of mouth. I mean, I could pay all the money in the world for Facebook ads. If somebody says, well, that wasn't good, or I don't like that, like that, you don't want that out there. You want positive word of mouth, and you want to be building a community.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you had a chance to go to the exhibitor hall, but we have over 30 exhibitors here today.
Yeah.
Everybody's bringing something to the table, right? There's a lot of information about how to access capital, and a lot of our attendees here are looking for that. They're seeking capital to start their business. What were some of the initial financial obstacles that you faced?
Yeah, money is always an obstacle, right? I mean, that is the hardest part of starting a company, because it's not just raising the initial money to get it off the ground, or in my case, to produce our first run, but it's knowing that you can sustain this for a long enough time that you have enough customers that can, support what the revenue goals of the company. So raising money, I mean, you could do it many different ways. Having done a few companies before, I did have a network or community of investors that I could go to. But more than that, it's not just my own community. It is utilizing World Business Chicago. It is utilizing, the Naturally Chicago Network, which focuses on organic and natural products. But it's asking, I find the people that you might want to talk to online. Find the mentors that you might want to talk to, or the investors, and ask for introductions. I mean, that is just how it's done. So I would just say, there's many ways that you can finance a company. You can go through the investor route. You can get a small business loan. I would just say, and I have my own mentors here today, is know your numbers, right? Know how long your runway is going to last. Know what your margin is on your jars. In my jars, I have 6 different SKUs, and I have 6 different margins. So you really have to know those numbers if you're going to be presenting this to anyone, whether it's a bank or an investor.
So you have to take that jump, right? You have to make those cold calls and make sure you keep all your networking. So if you haven't been to the exhibitors hall today, please make sure that you stop by. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of energy. You can hear the chatter, everybody asking questions. It was hard to get you guys out of there to come here. So if you haven't been there, or you were there and you moved here, please go back. So you answered my next question. It's going to be, what kind of advice would you offer someone seeking capital to open their business? Do you have any other advice, or?
And we're in a position actually now where we're going to be raising more money. So I guess I would also say you probably need more than you think. So give yourself that kind of a cushion. But also there's a lot of local banks here. For us, there's Wintrust, and there's the women's, what's the bank called? First Women's Bank. So there are a lot of resources here, and if you don't want to give up a portion of your company, or you don't want to do the investment, there's plenty of funds. There's grants. My friend here in the first row has been telling me about grants for a very long time. Actually, that's really good advice, and I should take it myself. There's all these grants out there that people don't even know, and they're untapped. So try to find some of those, whether it's through the city or nonprofit organizations. And there's one I found the other day just for moms.
When you're seeking, loans, small business loans, and you go to a private banking institution, what things are important to consider before you walk in there? Things like credit scores.
Yeah, we had talked about that. I mean, yes, your personal credit is important. Knowing what your revenue potential is, to be able to showcase this. But I would say, you have to have good.
Perfect. So, more advice from you. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur in the food tech or foodie industry?
I forgot what we talked about during the dress rehearsal, but engaging with the consumer. Someone once told me, you have to be obsessed with the consumer. And so in this particular case, there's going to be, people are going to have different tastes and things like that. But in general, engage with your consumer, ask them what they want. Don't give them something that no one has ever mentioned, There's probably a reason it doesn't exist. No one wanted it, right? Sometimes things will come out, that you didn't know you needed and you're happy it's there. But in general, use your focus groups, use the surveying. In our case, it was tastings, but be obsessed with the consumer. One thing I think we do better than most is our customer service as well. Like you can have a good product. You have terrible customer service, you turn that person off forever. It's, I've been in the restaurant world for a long time, food writing and things, and my husband's in it. And we've always said, you can forgive a bad meal with excellent service, great hospitality, but you're not gonna forgive horrible service and bad hospitality just because the food was pretty good. So I think customer service and understanding your consumer.
So how is your customer, this is off script actually.
Boy.
How is your customer service? If somebody was to call you to praise your business for an amazing experience, how do they get a hold of you?
The MO is most people do not email if they're happy, just like Yelp, right? It's like, so.
Do you have like a third party?
We do it all ourselves. So It's still really scrappy, guys. I mean, yes, it's on store shelves all over the country, but we're a 2-person team. So that's another pretty decent piece of advice is you don't need a high head count at the beginning, right? You don't need to use all of those resources or finances for that. So we're a 2-woman team with some fractional support. But we have, time limits as to when we have to respond to someone by. Like we cannot let a night go. They're not going to get an email the next day. They're going to get it that day unless it was, after a certain time because we are only 2 people. But it's immediate support, right? Especially we are dealing with people who are dealing with their children and their babies, and so there's a lot of emotions around that. So again, understanding the consumer and their own thought processes and the emotions that are involved with it is important. But yeah, just responding right away, going above and beyond that surprise and delight sort of situation we all look for by, shipping out a new box the next day with extra stickers, right? Like here's for your baby with a handwritten note by the founder. So, just giving customers that extra attention, especially when you're starting something new, they have no reason to keep buying from you. Give them that reason.
It looks like you have all the areas covered. Where do you see your company in the next 5 years?
This company, I think, truly deserves, to be a household name, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're really looking to help American babies because we are 10 times more likely to have food allergies here. We do, elsewhere in the world, there's not like multiple generations of picky eating kids with food allergies. That just doesn't exist. So being able to kind of revert back to the way the world has always eaten is so important to me. And then the mission, of course, in a world, like ours today, is food, no matter how you cut it, is a universal unifier. Everyone's going to eat, right? So like we can all agree that food is important, and food is how we break bread, we tell stories, we talk about our cultures, we teach other cultures through all of that food. And so that message, if I can get that into the hands of as many American families as possible, that's all I want.
I appreciate all, you for sharing all your insights and your business journey with everybody here today. It's great information. Let's transition a bit. When you're not running a business, how do you relax? What do you do?
When I what?
Or you're not running a business.
I see, I didn't hear the word because I don't know what it is.
You're in business mode 24/7.
Yeah, 2 kids in this business and a lot of travel, right? There's like, this is a company that I want all over the country, so there's a lot of travel and conferences and all that. But I was just saying, just being silent, just being with my family, watching a movie on the couch, literally, like, that's relaxing to me. I find I'm so driven by the mission of this business that I'm not as stressed out in this business as I probably should be, or I have been in the past because I feel like it's a mission-driven business. But yeah, just spending time with family, friends, eating, cooking. I love being in the kitchen with my kids. Like, as we head into the fall, it's, I just love the smell of pumpkin and, like making all the food with them and telling them stories. And that's about it. There is no gym time. None.
Which one's your favorite product? If you were to
So I love the mini stroni particularly right now. The tikka masala is delicious, and it's one of our best sellers. But we decided to launch the mini stroni. Again, this is kind of a business lesson too, is not everyone knows all of these flavors, and that's part of it, is that we want to introduce these flavors, but also, it's minestrone, but like the mini part is the way we call it, is Americanized enough that it was a comfortable flavor for people that may want to dip their toe into something. And so we were able to provide, that. And it tastes absolutely amazing. And I'm coming from, half Italian, like it's actually very good.
Can you tell the audience where they can find your products?
Yes, so we're sold in organic retailers across the country, Fresh Time, Pete's, Pizza's conventional, and then many other stores across the US, but Thrive Market, Amazon, our website. We are launching a TikTok shop. Again, we didn't start with a TikTok shop. You can't start with everything, but doing the research, we know that the parent community is shopping on TikTok. So now we have to, right? So, it's this is what we talked about the other day. And this is the piece of advice I think I wanted to share is don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, right? Get it out into the world, add to it later. You don't have to launch with TikTok and Walmart and Target and this. Launch how you can, what you can afford, right? And then start to, have the revenue that you need or the resources that you need to start expanding and trying different techniques.
So this is the time where we give our audience a chance to ask questions. You okay with that?
Of course.
And I'm sure that they have a lot of questions. So at this time, our amazing Stella is going to go around with her microphone. This is Stella. If you've been to our previous expo, Stella's the microphone. Don't take the microphone away from her. There you go.
Good morning. Who has a question? Hi, I run a small tutoring agency, pretty new, pretty naive. How do you identify which street festivals are family friendly?
I mean, I'm in the thick of it, so I look up. I know which ones I kind of go to and take my families to. I would just look at the website. I can't remember exactly what the website name is, but the ones that are during the day, the ones that have, a lot, like for me, it was a lot of food vendors and things like that. I wouldn't go after a certain hour, right? Like, usually maybe you scout out a few yourself before you go and invest in a booth or a tent, but I would just, test a few out, see where they are, but go during traditional times that people would be there with their families. Okay.
Hi, Erica. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm Natasha.
Hi.
And I am on my own ETA journey and looking through entrepreneurship and acquisition. So I'm curious about what your capital stack looked like and how we talked about funding and having some investors, but also what your structure looked like from an investor debt and your own equity that you were able to contribute.
Sure. So I raised money before. This is the third company, but the second one I'm doing on my own. So the way that we're raising these days is a little different than it was in 2008, which was not the perfect ideal time to start the first company. But I've been raising on what's called a safe note. It's very founder friendly. So it's a risk that people know that they're investing with you, but a safe note gives some benefits to them in the future. So if they gave you $10,000 today, when it converts, during a priced round, it would convert to, it's as if they put in 12,000, right? So they get a benefit for taking a risk on a startup. Go ahead. Well, they get more equity with that bonus, right? With that little extra 20% just for taking a risk at such an early stage. But you can go look. I believe it's a Y Combinator thing, the safe, and so you could just go on the go online and say, "Can I see a safe template?" SAFE, simple agreement for future equity.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hello, my name is Gina, and I think you're doing an excellent job in the baby food industry because you're the first one
that I know that created a brand other than Gerber. It's like a giant. It's like you hit the roof. So that's you're doing good. And I just wanted to know, did you market your business to put it in Walmart and all these other business, stores?
So I'll go back to what I was saying by launching your like minimal viable product, right? It may not be suitable for Walmart today because I don't have those economies of scale, right? I can't buy enough of the ingredients or the glass to get the price point you need to make money, right? I can't lose it. But Gerber's out there, of course. We consider ourselves competitive with a more organic product. So there's a lot of pouches out there. They're all pouches, but they're organic. Once Upon a Farm, Jennifer Garner's baby food company, right? That's where we're competing right now. And so I think it is important to know where your customers are. A lot of those Once Upon a Farm shoppers shop at, they will shop at Walmart, of course, but they shop all over, right? So we need to be in the same set, it's called, as that particular brand or the Serenity Kids brands that we're immediately competing with. So I'll give you a little anecdote too. So Fresh Thyme is a more organic store. Like they have a focus on the natural set. They displaced Gerber to bring in Globowl. And the reason they did that is because we can actually prove to them that we're following the trends and we're following the dollars. So we can see that the conventional baby food category is actually going down, but the organic baby food set is going up. So it's also important to know your data, right? So when you're pitching to a retailer, you're saying this to them because they know the data too. They want to know you know. So I hope that maybe answered the question.
Next question. Hi, thank you for sharing your story. It's very inspirational.
Thank you.
We're a small business, we do service, but right now we're looking into like the product side, and I wanted to ask you what would be like the first step for us to go ahead and move forward with designing our product, and it would be more like in the clothing area. So what would be I heard you say something about distributors, so who would we be contacting? What would be the first step to move forward?
Sorry, is it a food company? I couldn't hear that.
It's not, it's a product though.
For retail shelves?
It would be a product for something we would like to launch and design.
Okay.
And but what would be the first step? Like who would be like the first? Because I'm sure it's the concept is different, but the process is
right.
The same.
So I don't know that industry, so I'm not sure how the distributor stuff works. But even here in Chicago, I literally drove my car around to all of the little grocery stores, the little shops, the corner markets, the bodegas, if you will. And I brought in my samples, I talked to them and would sell it to them on the spot if they would take it. So you don't have to start completely, with a distributor, but also you have to recognize the power of direct to consumer and being able to sell directly to your consumer through your, Shopify website or even through, other platforms that are available now, like Amazon, right? You've got to do that research. The thing about being able to sell directly to your customer is you own that customer, right? They're yours. You get to remarket to them. You get to educate them. So I think it's really important for you to explore sort of that direct.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase my question.
Oh, okay.
The question was, how would we go about, what's the first step? Like who would we contact to basically start the designing process for the product? So we have a product in mind, like you had a product in mind that you wanted to go ahead and, with the food.
Mm-hmm.
So you contacted someone, a laboratory, or you contacted someone that helped you. So who would it be like? In our case, it would be a product not related to food, but it's a product. So who would we contact? Like, what would be the first step? Like, who would we contact? Would it be a manufacturer? Would it be like who would we contact to help us design?
Yeah, so I called my designer friend first, right? I said, we need a brand. We need to see what this is going to look like on shelf. The first thing she designed doesn't look anything like what this is. But even if it's the idea that you have an idea of what it looks like, you have something physical to show them, even if it's just on paper, that's important. For us, it was a lot of safety stuff, right? So I called a lot of laboratories, like you just said, but not knowing your product, I'm not entirely sure. But, I started with the brand. I started with getting, the design, the logo and stuff like that. And then that kind of snowballed into the rest.
If I could say something in addition to that, if you want to, and this is a chance for you to connect with your Chamber of Commerce. Are you in the city of Chicago? Oh, okay. Well, I would recommend that you try to find an organization similar to a chamber where you want to launch your business to connect you, with that type of information. If you were in the city, you can come to BACP and we will take care of you. But anyway, good luck to you. I hope we answered your question.
Hi, my name is Summer Camper. I'm the founder of the Sprout community, and I provide professional development opportunities for entrepreneurs, such as coaching or training, and also connection and community through social events. And I've been having a hard time getting feedback. I love what you were saying about getting the voice of the customer and knowing your people who you're selling to. But I feel like whenever I send out like a survey, I'll get like 3% response rate. And how is that the voice of all the people I'm interacting with? Do you have any other tips to kind of figure out what people are thinking and understand their experience and how I can improve?
Well, it's a numbers game, right? So the more people you send it to, the more hopeful responses you'll get. But you could also incentivize people, you can send them a little gift card or % off your services. I'm not, not knowing the business model. But sometimes people do need to be incentivized. But also I would say, you don't have a product per se, but I did go to any customer that had ordered, and this was earlier on, ordered more than once, so 2 or 3, and they were repeat customers, and I asked them for like a 30-minute call. And I just said, I am new, this is a new business, this means the world to me, I want this to grow. What do you want to see? What you are the consumer, what would you like to see next? Or what would you like to see us do better? And then we would offer them something in return. Some said, no, I don't need anything. Some we sent free products. Some we sent them an Amazon gift card. Mm-hmm.
I have a two-part question. One, if somebody wanted to link up with you in order to sell, what process do they have to follow? And two, when you first begun your task of opening up the business, did you experience any red tape? And if you did, what did you do?
I'm so sorry, where is that voice coming from? Oh, okay, can you ask that last part again? Because I couldn't see your mouth and
I said, the second question was, when you started down the path of your journey of doing what you're doing, and if you experienced red tape, so to speak, what did you do to push through that?
to push through.
The red tape. There's a
Oh,
lot of red tape in the city of Chicago. So
that might be a you question.
I can. So thank you for that question. And just to let you know, we are working very, very hard, sir, to cut that red tape. I know that these are processes that have been implemented and ingrained in departments' operations for many years. And we're trying under this administration to look at those roadblocks and remove them so that your licensing and your permitting experience is better. We are working on that, and you will hear from us very soon about the ways that we're doing to do that. That's why we are going out in the community to listen to stakeholders and business owners and business service organizations, to hear from them strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, gathering all that information so we can start working with others in the city that are involved in the licensing process and start cutting that tape. So thank you for that question. It's very, very, very good.
We're going to take some questions from the other side of the room.
I have one in the lady in blue in the middle. I didn't hear you first.
To connect with me? Oh, we're still figuring it out, right? We've only been selling for 2 years. So, we've had nice penetration into the market, but we're still figuring it out ourselves.
We're gonna take between 2 and 3 more questions.
Well, I have the lady in the middle, she's been waiting a while here. In the blue? Yes, please.
Hi, Erica. Thank you for being here. As a business owner and as someone running a company, what is one of the biggest challenges you faced? One of the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome as a business owner that you would have done differently starting a new business?
I mean, this is not the easy path. It's always going to be a bit challenging. I mean, access to capital is hard, right? So there have to be creative ways in which to find it. I'm glad that raising money this time versus the first time, I just know more about it. So I would just say, really educating yourself on the nuances of it are extremely important before committing to anything. This is a more personal, anecdote, but, being a founder and a mom is challenging. So if you're navigating the family space, I think what I've done through this is engage my family with the business. So I call it our business. It's, the kids ask me at dinner, what did we sell today? How many stores did we get into? And they've been doing this for a couple of years because I never wanted there to be a divide between the business and them, because I never wanted them to feel like they were competing. So I think, that's again, a personal thing, but it was very important to me. But yeah, I hope that answers a little bit. And with food particularly, it's very challenging, not through the city, but FDA and regulations of that sort. So it's really finding someone who knows that real well.
If I can add to that, if you are thinking of opening a business in the city, I would love for you to come into our business center. City Hall, room 805. 800. And we have business consultants that can help you, with your model, with your business model. Let's see if zoning allowed in the area where you want. Let's see if your business type is licensable, right? So there's a few things that we can do for you at no cost before you get into the weeds of finding a location, signing a lease agreement, all of that. Come and see us. Room 800 City Hall, 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Easy and free.
Oh, also, I would say, if the first thing I said was access to capital, we are also in a city that has access to amazing educational institutions and the pitch competitions and the things of that nature. Like, I don't know if all of them are public, but being able to go watch the way entrepreneurs are pitching, what they're pitching, what their ask is, it might be worth going to the universities and seeing what you may be able to participate in or watch. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Rupali. I am an aspiring business owner. I'm also a single mother, and I hope to open my business maybe in the next year or two, or maybe sooner. I've narrowed down the business. And I'm a planner by nature, so I would love to know what are some of the things that I could be doing between now and when I pull the trigger that would really set me up for success.
What kind of business did you say?
So the business that I'm looking at is a signage business.
Okay.
So that provides signs for businesses to B2B. That's a business I narrowed down. So I'm just curious about that.
So these are all spontaneous questions. So I'm thinking at the same time as you are. But what I would say is decide if you want to go at it alone or if you want to go at it with somebody else and bring on a potential partner or anything of that nature. Start thinking about, your own network of people that can help support, whether it's a bank, right? And learning a little bit about the way they support small businesses, whether it's, an accountant to help you kind of set up your books. It's really building, I think, the support network around you. I mean, that's what I did. My friend Kyle here, and actually my other friend, all from school, right? My friend Julia. These are people that are familiar with what I'm doing. One from CPG, one who's a doctor, and I called them first. Is this something that I can do? Is this important? Is this in line with the science? Is this a potential, does this have the potential to be something in the CPG space? So I would just say really leaning into your community and your network and building that support system from the very beginning. And I slapped their names right on that advisory board, so I did ask. But yeah, so, having that around you, and it also makes people more confident in you if you've built the right sort of company structure and the right supporters around you.
I think this would be the last question, right? But if you want to stay behind and can people approach you, Erica, and talk to you for a little bit after?
Of course.
Because we have to move on with our program, but I want to thank all of you. And there's something that we want to do for you. I want to, obviously, it's customary that we present our keynote speakers with a honorary business license. So
Oh my
you are part now
goodness.
of a very important group of people. Congratulations. Thank you so much. I'm very inspired by your story. I appreciate you. Thank you.
And congratulations, he has a 7-day-old grandkid.
Thank you, guys. One more picture? Yeah. If you want to stay behind and ask some questions, you can do that. Attendees, please go back to the exhibitor hall. Our seminars are about to start. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, everyone.